Dogs they're so the best. I don't know, dude. I had one cat. Cat's fine. Dog person.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I was a cat person, I would have a cat also, and but I'm a dog person for sure.
Yeah. I could see like getting a cat, but I would always have a dog first. I would never only have cats.
Right, right. I tried that with my ex-wife, and it did not work.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Ratnest podcast, episode number 26 with Ezra Brown. Hey! What's up, dude?
What's up, Ezra? How you doing, bro?
What's up?
It's very nice to meet you, man. Just so everyone knows, we've actually never met before. This is the first time. Memo from another episode put us in touch and was like, "You got to get this guy on the podcast," and reached out, and we're able to make it happen, man. Thank you so much for being with us and taking time out of your schedule.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man. So I have a few questions right off the bat because I just started being more familiar with your work in the last few years. How long have you been painting? Where did you get started at? And like, what was kind of the progression to get you to this point?
Well, I mean, you want to go way, way back. I started when I was 5. My dad was he was an artist, but not in a professional sense as far as painting goes. But he was an artist as far as entertainment wise, because he was a lounge singer. So at night he would go do his act, and then during the day he'd just paint. So as a kid, I just picked it up from him. And then as time went on, I just, got a little better, but never to the point where I really understood what it is I was drawing. Like I could see something, put it on paper, but I didn't know any of the perspective, any of that. And as I got older, I decided to go to art school. So I went to the Academy of Art in San Francisco, went there for about 4 years, did my thing, came back. I worked for Quicksilver as a graphic designer for a short time till I actually missed 2 deadlines and I got fired.
Oh, no.
And I was really bummed. So for a long time, I just kind of was not wanting to go back into the art world. So I would just do random odd jobs. And then slowly but surely, I got together with some friends like Memo, and we just started doing art shows. So that kind of got me back into the swing of things. And then, I mean, unfortunately, I'd hate to say it, but COVID was actually one of my breaking points, where people started to know my work. And that's where it just started, snowballing and just taking on a life of its own.
That's super interesting. That's crazy. I mean, it's a natural progression to get you to this point, but then, fueled a little bit here by the end by a shitty thing. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to be thankful for it. But it also exposes people to stuff that they wouldn't have had the time to look at before, which is is great for any artist or anyone making anything.
I mean, we know as well as anybody, the pandemic was a catalyst for a lot of things, not just the creation of art, but the creation like Ratnest. We started this out of necessity because shops and shows were no longer available for artists to get their work out there. So we wanted to provide a platform for people to be able to get out even during the pandemic. So we know as well as anybody, this pandemic can be viewed, if you look at it glass half full, as a heavy catalyst for a lot of creation.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is I almost felt guilty because of my success, because I knew a lot of people that weren't doing so great, and I almost felt bad publicizing the things I was doing because it was going a different way for me as opposed to others. So for a while there, I just didn't post anything, and then my family members just kept saying, it's unfortunate that yes, some people aren't doing great, but you have to kind of celebrate your successes. Don't be boastful about it, but just be grateful and appreciative about it.
No, totally. I mean, that's 100%. And I don't know if it's everybody, but there's that guilt of almost that just not deserving guilt when you sell paintings and stuff. It's oh, why did mine sell over this? Or it's great. Just be happy that you're moving work and people enjoy it enough to purchase it. It's awesome, man. But I want to step back for a second because you said you worked at Quicksilver back in the day. Were you doing graphic design work there, or what did you go to school at the Art Institute for?
Well, I was just going for art, traditional painting. And then it was an actual art school. So you know how like when you go to college, you have to take your prereqs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go through all that BS. So I found the school through like an online website. And at the time I was dating this girl and she wanted to go to San Francisco to become a chef. So I said, well, perfect opportunity. We could both go up there. And it was just a straight up art school. There was no math, no English involved. So it was perfect. I mean, I just got to do what it is I wanted to do. And like I said, I started traditional painting and then I got into like illustration. And then it was like that era when graphic design was being introduced to schools. So I took a course and I really liked it. And from there, I just, hooked up with some people I knew in LA, and one of these people I knew some people at Quicksilver. So they got me an interview, and I was just, it was the time when like Mike Giant was getting really popular, and a lot of campaigns were trying to diss on his work. So one of the campaigns we ran was Disobey. Hence, it's like ironic you're wearing that shirt. So we were doing a lot of stuff that was involved with that kind of, like gimmicky thing. And then we were also doing like collaborative works, like where we would blend old punk band shirts like Black Flag and Rancid. So it was a lot of that kind of stuff. But at the time I was partying a lot. So I just, like I said, I missed a couple of deadlines and I was just like, yep, you got to go.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the artist struggle to a certain degree too. I know a lot of creative types that hold themselves back a little bit by getting into it and just wanting to have a good time all the time. So
and that's the downside too, because you could just get really caught up in that.
Absolutely.
Especially if you have a decent income and like you're getting paid, if work's regular and you're doing all right, you can afford your bills. It's easier to fuck off sometimes, I feel like.
Well, I think that's why not every good artist is successful or as well known as they should be. If you get, like you said, if you get in your own way and you kick your feet out from under you every time you move forward, or you let those missed deadline firings hold you back and go, all right, this ain't for me anymore, then you're never you have to have that drive, that motivation, that get over every hurdle, or don't view it as the end of the road. You're always moving forward. And procrastination is in there too, man. The trust, as artists, we know procrastination is one of the biggest devils.
I think that's
definitely.
That's a common trait. Is it for you? It's like growing up when you were in school. Did you were you a procrastinator? Like you waited till the last minute to do everything, but still like did better than like a lot of the kids. So you're like, I got this. Or what?
What was crazy during art school? I was a really good student, but when I got out of school is when I actually started slacking off, because it was more like, okay, I'm doing my own thing now. I'm not like under pressure from, professors telling me like, I got to get this project in, or I got to do this. So when I went out on my own, it was hard to have some kind of time management. But you do make a good point. Like when you're under the gun, I always feel like I'm the most creative with the things I'm doing.
Yeah.
And even though I hate it, because it's like, man, I could have done this like a month ago and now I'm doing it like a day before and I'm missing like 8 hours of sleep. I'm doing an all-nighter. And I mean, I'm old now, so I can't really be doing too many of those.
Yeah. Procrastination, man, it's a double-edged sword. It really can be that motivator, but it also can tear you down. It's wild how that plays into art at every angle, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So then you moved down to San Diego from LA after that, and then that's when you started kind of getting back into the swing of things. Did you have a...
Yes. So I moved from LA. I moved to TJ. Okay. So I was living in TJ for about 6 years. I started doing artwork there, but what was crazy at the time I moved there, the art scene was very traditional in the sense where they didn't have too much like pop art, too much graffiti. And I don't want to say I was like part of the beginning, like I was not a part of the beginning of that era, but I did help with that a little bit, because I would do art shows. And there was one I did, my friend had the how do you call it? She was given the honor of actually hosting an art show. I don't know if you guys are too familiar with TJ, but that building called Highlight.
I don't know the area.
It's like a huge building in downtown TJ. It's in Revolution. But she was working as an art director, and she was given the opportunity to actually host an art show. She asked me if I wanted to be part of it, and at the time I was doing artwork with this like small collective group of kids. So I said, well, cool, it's a perfect opportunity. So I went to go check out the place. It's like it's turned into a big music hall now. Like it's a big stage and whatnot. So I went there, I checked it out, and I told her, you know what, I want to take over half of the stage, like the left side of the stage. And she goes, are you serious? This is like crazy. So to make a long story short, we built like a mini, like a shanty town. And that shit blew up because everybody else that was invited to the art show that were artists involved in that art show were, like I said, traditional. They had their easel set up, their like, still life drawings, their figure drawings. And they were pissed at us because we had graffitied the crap out of these like makeshift houses. We brought in a keg. We had like wrestling masks on. We had made t-shirts. We did all this shit like guerrilla style. And they were hating it because a bunch of the people that came to the event were just crowding our section, and we were giving out free beer, and they got pissed at us because of course they were selling shit there and we were giving it out for free. But that was my first taste of like, oh shit, like we got something here,
Yeah.
So from there on out, I got together with this guy who used to do silk screening there, and I became best friends with his daughter, and we started like a little silk screen shop. So we started making t-shirts, and from there we started hosting events. And then I'm like, damn, this is going really well. Like down here, I want to kind of expand. Oh, excuse me. And then at the time, I had the opportunity to get a house in San Diego. So my wife and I moved to San Diego, and that's where I started trying to branch out. Like, okay, so I did this in TJ. Let's see what happens here in San Diego. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the DJ Andre Power.
No.
He did the soul sessions or something like that. He started that. But Memo and I used to do this thing that was hosted every Thursday night called at the Bluefoot Lounge. It was Art in the Park. So that's how I met Memo because I used to work with him, but then we made a bigger connection at those events. And then from those events, we started branching out to other things. We used to do these other events at the, oh my God, what's that pizza place called in downtown by Petco Park?
Basic.
Basic, exactly. We used to do shows there, and people were just, they were loving it. And we just, started running with that whole thing. Like, okay, let's start doing art shows. Let's start collaborating with other artists. And from there, it was just like an onslaught of like creativity from, one source to another source. So it was actually kind of cool, really cool.
Oh yeah,
that's really cool, man. I like that story about how it moved in, and it kind of plays right into my next question. You said earlier, like when the pandemic hit, it was kind of a guilty feeling that you were putting your art out there and it was actually being, well accepted. And I guess is less of a question to start, but more like at that time, people needed art. People needed an escape, and to be able to give them something, particularly your style of art, with this very reminiscent feel. It looks like from a childhood. It's with your characters that you got. It's almost like, I know this guy. You're like, I already know this character. Yeah, it's very
warm, it's
comforting,
familiar.
And at the beginning of the pandemic, everyone kind of wanted that. So it makes a lot of sense why it was so well accepted, because you have such a visceral emotion it comes through. There's kind of a sadness because it's the black and white and gray, but it's like not sad artwork at all, so it's got a lot of levels to it. And I think you probably capitalized on the perfect timing for people, unbeknownst, because they wanted that. They didn't even know they wanted that. So it's super rad, dude. The characters that you have developed in there, and the line art and the way that you present it, it's just, like I said, depth in every aspect. So great job, and don't feel guilty, bro. That you did what people needed you to at that moment, and far be it from you to steal away good art from the people, right?
True.
So
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead, brother.
No, I was just gonna say it was an awkward time, and I guess it was like the right place at the right time. So I mean, it just felt surreal in a sense because all my life I've been trying to feel like a sense of accomplishment and try to get people to notice my work. And when it actually just, comes full circle, you're just like, oh, wow, is this like really happening? Is this a dream or am I like imagining it? So I was really blessed with, the people responding the way they did. And I'm just humble to just be here to provide, some kind of relief or comical sense. And like,
Totally.
Yeah. No, that's what's up, man. It shows. That's a good dude when you can accept it like that and actually question it, so kudos and just keep rocking that shit, bro. Don't even look back.
I'm curious, man, since you started getting a little bit more of the recognition or like more people hitting you up about work and shows and events and stuff, has it jump started any other projects, or have you been like solely focused on kind of this what you have in front of you as far as like painting and like the character that you've been using recently?
Yeah, there's other projects that I'm working on that I can't really talk about because they're like, they're just like projects I'm working with other companies and they're like contract based. So
sure.
I just have to, but yeah, there is a few things that I am working on that are actually going to be really, really cool. But like I said, I can I have to be very, very vague about it because it's still like in the early works and there's a lot of things going on. But yeah, I'm excited that I'm working with these people, that they've actually seen my work and they're taking me seriously. And what's another thing that's actually cool that I didn't even think would be able to happen is that I got an agent, and from that I've been able to expand my reach to other realms and other places that I normally would have not been able to on my own.
For sure. Yeah, that's a huge step right there for any artist. That's awesome.
Definitely. Wild, man. Congratulations on all that. Just
thank you.
Sick. Like you said, it's like I came kind of from the same background, except I never finished art school. I only took a couple classes and dropped out of community college, and just started, trying to paint and learn from other people, and through group shows where, whoever was around at the time that wanted to be involved and was, on the level. I thought like curated them pretty solidly. But just that DIY all thrown together, in a bar or, somewhere there was not a gallery setting. And that's how I kind of made all my friends and like connections and stuff, was just through events and bullshitting with other people. And, oh, have you met this guy? Oh, this is my friend so-and-so. Like, it's crazy how you just, it seems like fun, but it also is very work related sometimes.
Yeah, that's the networking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I remember. So Memo, I don't know if you know Joe Castillo, a photographer out of San Diego. He introduced me to Memo when you guys were doing the shows at Bluefoot, and then I mean that was 5 years ago or something. Like it's so long. It is like, and now here we are today talking about shit. It's funny just how it comes full circle like that.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Memo's like the 6 degrees of separation almost.
That's funny,
right.
Man. So I want to ask you though, so recently with this character, what are the like origins of it? Like we said, it's very comfortable and kind of like that familiar feeling. You got the white gloves, Disney-esque, like were you into what cartoons as a kid like really like got you into like wanting to do art and stuff?
Yeah.
Mr. T, who else? A lot of Pee-wee's Playhouse, Transformers, G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
But the main basis of the character, believe it or not, and I mean, at the time I was building the character, like I said, I was just kind of bouncing around from job to job. And at the time I was a bus driver, school bus driver, before the pandemic hit. So I was just kind of drawing in between like, my training courses and classes and stuff. And I always resonated with like Walt Disney. I mean, I know it sounds kind of cliche and stuff, but I've always loved the fact that he had a character that everybody could recognize. And if you really think about it, this day and age, a lot of the similarities that I can connect with are like SpongeBob. Every little kid knows SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So I started thinking like, man, I want a character like that, like where if I ever like, I mean, eventually I'll die, but this character will live on and people will just connect with them on a deeper level. So I started drawing them. And of course the pandemic hit and I was just like out of a job. And I was like, dude, I'm just going to go, you know, like in deep with this artwork. I'm like, I'm going to do it because I've always been like, you know, kind of teetering. Should I come back? Should I not? So I said, you know what? I want to draw a character like Mickey Mouse that has that kind of fame and people can connect with. So I came up with the clown because I used to draw this thing or this saying that says like, life is a circus. Don't you be a clown. So I said, dude, I want that. So of course, you know, the 1930s, 1940s, a lot of us connect with that era because it feels good, you know, it feels like, oh man, it's just nostalgic, even though we weren't born in that era.
Yeah.
So I came up with the character. And like I said, the pandemic hit, and then all of a sudden, you know, like the rioting and stuff like that started happening. So I know the owners of Pokies. And at the time, if you guys remember, everybody was boarding up their businesses.
Yeah.
So he wanted me to paint a mural on his business. So I said, okay, well, I'll just paint my character. So I painted my character. And as I did that, the other businesses down the street were like, hey, I want some artwork too. So I was like, dude, perfect opportunity to advertise this character and just start blowing it up. And funny enough, everybody was asking me like, what's the name of your character? Yada, yada, yada. So I said, you know what? I'm going to call him Happy. Happy. I mean, you know, it's kind of funny because he's always put into like awkward situations. And I always wanted him to connect with people like on a real sense, like where if you feel depressed or you're not feeling that great, it's like, okay, I'm going to draw this character in that type of situation. But funny enough, his name's Happy, but yet he's not always happy. So to make a long story short, everybody was connecting with them. I was doing work with them. And I said, man, this is really great. So my next step was like, okay, I want to bring this guy like to life. Like, and my whole goal was to actually have a toy made out of one of my art pieces. So I said, I'm going to do that. I had enough money saved up and I said, okay, I'm going to go forward and I'm going to create this character. I'm going to build them up and I'm going to have people, you know, really connect with them. So that's what I did. I had enough money. I sent out, I had it 3D rendered. I had it a mold made and then I got the vinyl toy. And it was so crazy because having the idea go from like a physical form is so crazy because it's like, man, I just thought of this and now I'm actually holding it and now I can actually offer it to people. And that was the greatest feeling when people were actually wanting to purchase the thing that I created. I mean, yeah, I've done art pieces and paintings and whatnot and people buy them, but when you actually are holding something physical like that, like a toy that I can offer people that can put into their home as a collection, that to me was like the greatest accomplishment in itself. So that was like the way that I wanted the character to be perceived as like connecting with people on an emotional level, on an artistic level. And not only that, but as a collector level, like you can collect this now, you know, you can't just look at it. You can actually own it.
Dude, well, congratulations too on selling out of those. That's awesome, man. When you were doing the project, you got it 3D modeled, rendered, and then did you do the molding yourself, or did you have someone do the molding as well?
So the way the process worked is I had a drawing. I send it out to the manufacturer in China. They 3D sculpted it for me. They sent me the sample. I inspected the sample through, you know, email, and I okayed it. So then they did like a mock-up, like a hard plastic mock-up, and then they showed me pictures of that. And it was kind of crazy because, of course, I've never done anything like that. So I didn't know that there was engineering involved and all these other things like with color coding and stuff. So after we got all that done, they actually gave me a physical, you know, piece to hold and inspect. And I looked it over and then I kind of made comments on certain things that I wanted fixed. Once that was all done, then they actually did the injected mold to get ready for vinyl. And then they did the whole run.
That's sick.
That's rad.
Yeah, dude. I've done like just resin cast figures, with the silicone molding at home, but never to that size. I mean, the size is pretty. How tall is it? In
It's
total?
10-inch.
Is
Like
it
when
10?
I first, because I got together with Tenacious Toys because the project was getting a little bit pricey. Because when it first started off, I'm like, okay, I think I could fund this my whole self. And then I know a friend, his name's Xavier, but he goes by Prime, and Prime We Trust. And I started talking to him, and I said, you know what? I need somebody to back this project with me because it's getting a little bit pricey. And he had given me two contacts to get a hold of. The first contact that I went through, I pitched my whole idea, and they just rejected it. The second one was Benny at Tenacious Toys, and he totally fell in love with the idea, and he basically just gave me a blank check without even meeting me.
Damn.
And I was just like, whoa, that's crazy. So of course I kept them in the loop as far as everything that was going on, from the colors and the weight and all that kind of stuff, even the packaging. But to have that trust from somebody to just go ahead with my project was just a big boost, like a confident booster. So I was just happy to, be partnering with Tenacious Toys because they're a big company. And then when he was like excited about the project, it got me excited again. And then we just started going, bananas over it. And once we actually got the product and we were holding it, we were excited. And then of course we did the launch with him. And then I did my launch. And it was really, really cool. Like I couldn't believe it.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's super cool.
That's super rad. And you said you're going to be at New York Comic Con with Tenacious Toys?
No. It's in Invader Toys or I forget the name of the guys, and I'm sorry I'm messing it up. I'll look it up. But
shit, my bad, dude.
Yes. So no, you're good. So I got connected through them through you guys know the company Original Good Stock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
So my friend Moss knows a guy named Mike there, who's the owner of I hope I'm getting it right, but Invasion Toys, and they wanted to meet me, so I met with them, and they wanted to take because I had just came out with a new line of t-shirts and sweatshirts, and I hadn't put them up yet. I had a photo shoot ready to go. But then when I met Mike, he wanted to see if he could take some of that new merchandise to New York with him. And I said, perfect. And I'm like, man, it's like, okay, half of my merchandise is going to New York. I haven't even put it out yet. And now I'm like kind of a little bit scared because Anaheim's coming up and I'm going to have to take that half to Anaheim. So I'm not going to really have anything off for the people on the website. So I said, you know what? I kind of put the photo shoot on hold and I kind of did it guerrilla style in my brother's garage. I had my daughter model for it and one of her friends and whatnot. And then we just put it out and I'm running it for like about 2 weeks and then I'm shutting the store down. So then whatever merchandise I have left, I can take it with me to Anaheim. But Mike at the Invasion Toys asked me if I wanted to go do a signing at New York to kind of, get people interested in my artwork and maybe just, if you buy a vinyl toy there, you can get a signed print, kind of like an incentive to buy. So I was like, sure, I'm down. Let's go. And I've never been to New York, so perfect opportunity.
Oh, that's rad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's awesome, dude. It's like an opportunity that doesn't come easy for a lot of artists that, all right, let's go from, West Coast, Southern California to New York, the other area you want to be in and be exposed to.
For sure.
Get your work out. It's like word travels fast in like Southern California, New York. I'm not really familiar with a lot of the art scene around the country, but those are definitely two cities, or Los Angeles and New York is two of the biggest cities in the country to get your work exposure.
Yeah, definitely. But what was funny is like I started getting like people on my Instagram DMing me from there when I had posted that. And they were asking me, are you going to actually be there? I said, yeah, I'll be there to sign. And they were like, oh, cool, I'm going to come see you. And I'm like, I've never met these people, but it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like people from there are actually excited to come see me,
Hell yeah.
It's rad.
I wanted to shift gears just a little bit here and go into a little bit of your kind of the process that you go through in like creating this. Are you using a tablet with like an Apple Pencil? Are you doing everything on Illustrator? Like everything is just so clean and perfect. I just have to hear it.
Like, you mean like paintings or digital wise?
Well, when I was looking at like all the stuff that you're putting on your shirts, like all of the scenes that Happy's in and like all of that, like I'm talking about the digital stuff that you're putting out.
So that is all through Procreate. I used to do Illustrator and Photoshop, but I used to hate, like, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like a lazy artist. Like I want it like now.
Sure.
And I was always trying to find an app that would be close to like pen and paper or pencil and paper. And I used to try like the Wacom, Bamboo, and I was just like, oh, I don't really like that. Till my brother introduced me to Procreate, and I was like, oh crap, this is like the first app I've ever felt like I'm actually drawing but digitally. So that's how I do all of my artwork, just like as far as like digital sense, like that's where it all comes from, is Procreate. So all my designs, all my personal artwork, that's where it all comes from.
That's rad. I kind of assumed that you were going to say that. I use Procreate too on my iPad with the iPad or the Apple Pencil, and it's like it changed art. You know what I mean? When they came out with that stuff.
Definitely.
In Procreate, did you create your own brushes? Have you purchased like brush packs that you like or have found, or are you just using the standards?
No, at first I was using the standards, and then I ran into this company called Retro Supply through an artist called Ramen Banks. And he would do a lot of tutorials, and I used to love like that grainy feel and, you know, those like dry brush look. And I would always ask him. And what was cool is like, this guy's like pretty well known, but I would always DM him and he would respond to me. And I'm like, dude, that's actually kind of cool. Like this guy could just like not give a crap about who I am, but he was taking the time to actually, you know, inform me about what he was doing and how he was getting it done. So from there, I just started buying all their brush packs, all their like paper packs, and it just kind of went with the feel of the artwork I wanted to do. And it's just like it's been perfect.
It does. It looks great. And I love how it looks hand drawn, but it's obviously digital, you know, and that's really the aspect that Procreate or any program that's allowing you to use that digital pencil it brings that extra aspect to the table. It's great. Love it.
Yeah, you got to get there though with it. Like at first, I felt like a lot of the stuff I did looked very unnatural to like the way I would draw or paint. Just because, too, I have like a weird thing because I hold my pencil differently than most people. So the pressure wise, I had to get like a different motion and a different rhythm to it with the digital platform because I was just mashing it. I was just you know, for whatever reason.
Heavy hand.
Like I know what works in with ink and paper and what pens I like to use, but when it came down to that, I had to really figure it out, and it was kind of frustrating at first.
Yeah, you make a good point there, because when I first started, I was getting frustrated because it's like a new tool, and you had to kind of get used to the little, you know,
the learning curve
about it.
Yeah.
But once you get it, it's like a game changer.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more. So are you still doing a lot of like paint on canvas and stuff like that? Or you just, okay, good. Not just strictly digital.
Well, tell us about,
not strictly.
I was going to say, tell us about you got the mural show with Ground Floor coming up this weekend. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's on Saturday.
Saturday, October 2nd. And
at the House of Boxing.
I saw the one, you were part of the San Diego one downtown that they did a couple months ago, right? Is like everyone did like a 4x4.
No, I wasn't in that one. I was at the first one they did. That was the first one that was done at the Vogue, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I was in that one, but then they did another one, but I wasn't involved in that one. And then now I'm in this one. I guess you would call it the third, but they're calling it the second. Like, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I know they just kind of started up. I haven't lived in San Diego for this last year, so I don't have my ear to the ground like I used to, but I saw some of the artists, that were in the last one with Regan and Memo and stuff. I thought I saw your work, but it must have been the first show. I just saw it on Instagram and thought it was part of the other one.
Mm-hmm.
But
so I'll be in that one for sure.
Sick. And where's that being held at in San Diego?
Rio Drive. It's at the House of Boxing.
There you go, House of Boxing, Rio Drive, October 2nd. Ground floor murals.
Might come out after that when that show already runs.
Oh, okay, shit. Well,
what's the next show you have coming up?
Is it a one-day show? Yeah, it's just like one day, pack up.
Yeah, it's a one-day show. So I'll actually even be vending there too. So if you guys want to pick up t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever,
for sure.
But the next one I'll be doing will be at the House of Boxing again on October 23rd. And that one's going to be a really big event, and everybody's encouraged to dress for the era, because it's going to be based on the 1940s, 1930s. So they want it really to feel like the era, because they're going to have actors walking around, speaking in that era. They're going to have, of course, like exhibition boxing matches. They're going to have art battles. So they want it to be a really big event, but they also want it to feel like you're there.
Oh, that's rad. That's a immersive experience, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Do people need to buy tickets for that, or is it a free event?
I believe that there is tickets that are going to be sold. I'm not too sure as far as like that goes, but I mean, I'm pretty sure maybe like $5 to get in, something like that.
That'd be rad. Like a pre-Halloween party. It's like dress back, throwback.
Yeah, so it'll get you ready, because I mean, everybody's bummed that last year they weren't able to really celebrate like they wanted to, and it was so funny because they were so jazzed about all the holidays falling on a weekend, and what happens? Everybody's indoors.
Yep, exactly.
Oh man. So now everybody's got that itch.
So it sounds like from your very first art installment that you were talking about down in TJ to like even now, you have a very what's the word? Unique style of when you show your artwork. Like you don't want to, it sounds like you're trying very hard, or trying to be not just that traditional, here's my easel, here's my painting, I'm going to stand here next to it. Like you said, you built a shanty town and you're having this immersive experience for this show, like setting it in a whole different place. Like, how do you come up with that stuff on like, just to be able to display the art? That seems like a whole nother talent on its own.
You know what? I've always had this like elaborate mindset, like going back to when I was doing art shows in TJ. I also had one like where I wanted all the artwork to be on cakes, like cakes, dope. Like all the artwork was on cakes, like, and instead of just buying the art piece, you could get a piece of cake and just buy it. Yeah. And then after that, there was like a little protest in TJ. And what I did is I went to like a piñata store and I had them build like this, like 20-foot pink, like revolver. Like it was a 20-foot high revolver. And I put like this, how do you call it, bubble machine in it, and it was just blowing out bubbles. It was the time when like the drug trafficking was really rampant there.
Oh, okay.
And a couple of my friends were protesting that, so we went down in Revolution and we're holding like this 20-foot like revolver. It's pink and it's blowing out bubbles. But it's always been like one of those things with me. It's like I want my artwork to like stand out. Like I always try to paint big canvases, and my wife always complains like, well, who's gonna buy that? But I know it's kind of hard to say that, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you buy it and you put it in your house, somebody's going to see like, damn, what is that? You know? And that's what I want my artwork to be. It's like, I want it to be like a focal point. That's why when I did the vinyl toy, when I worked with Tenacious, they were surprised that I went so big for my first one. Cause normally you do like a 6-inch or 5-inch, but I went 10-inch.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I just want it to be like one of those pieces that you walk in and like, damn, where'd you get that? Or who is that? So that's my whole idea as far as like my art concept goes. It's like, I want it to be like almost like the eyesore so that you see it.
The big and bold,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Clean, crisp. I don't know. You could say a lot of things. Like the toy is just a perfect example. It's kind of like a perfect representation of the character. It feels like that's been a character. When you see that thing, it feels like it's, it, like oh, I've seen cartoons of this before. You could probably tell someone like, hey, you've seen the happy cartoons, right? And they're like, oh yeah, I've seen the happy.
Yeah.
Like they would just go along with it because it feels so true, you know?
Right.
So like,
It's like you don't want to be left out. It's like FOMO.
Exactly,
right.
dude.
it's like, you know this band, you just make up a name. They're like, yeah, I listen to
Oh,
that.
I
band.
love that band.
That's funny. Yeah, I have to like watch it because people are like, even on this interview, you've asked me or asked us if we are familiar with a couple things, and I have to be like, am I? Yeah. You know?
Yeah, is he shitting me right now?
Shit. Should I be? But it's funny. Yeah, dude. The toy though, I mean, 10 inches is huge. Like I said, I've casted some stuff and done, and a lot of things go wrong, and there's a lot of finishing work when it comes to like making those things. I don't know how it is with vinyl as much as the resin that I use. I don't know if there's a big difference or what, but and then the color wise, that's just a completely different ball game. I wouldn't even know where to start. Like I just would assume you'd have to hand paint all those things, which is gnarly. I've seen some of the painting videos where they make little metal molds in I think it's like Hong Kong, somewhere in China, and they'll cast it to your shape, and so then they can mask off to certain spots and spray it real quick and do it. But it is intense. Like it's so wild. These guys are master craftsmen, and they just work in these like hot ass like factories. Like,
Yeah,
shink,
oh my
shink, shink,
God.
dude. It's crazy, dude.
You know, and that was one of the things that I actually was looking at when I was doing the toy. But to go back to that, are you guys familiar with the artist Thumbs One?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's the one that actually got me the contact to the toy company I work with, and it's called The Mang. So I went online because it was through Alibaba, and I was looking at all their stuff. And what you were saying is right. It's like I wanted to be, you know, you could never really stray too far away from like having some bad elements, like, you know, like ish and stuff like that. But I really wanted it to be like a friendly environment where like I didn't want people like sweating over my toy or have bad working conditions. So I did kind of do some research about the company. I mean, from what they say on their website and the pictures they show, it's only like what I see, and it's only a small perception of what they want to show you. I'm not there physically, but as a creator, you always want to have that in mind as like, okay, am I putting out a product that's safe or at least environmentally conscious to a sense or a point? Because a lot of the things too, like that are going on in the art world with NFTs, like with the Ethereum and the gases and it being bad for the environment. I mean, you want to get in that game as soon as possible because you don't want to be irrelevant to the art world. But then again, you also want to be like conscious to the fact where it's like, okay, am I doing something right for the environment, or am I going to be looked at as like, oh, you just want a quick buck and you don't care about what's going on, you know, around you. So that's one of the big aspects that I tend to think of when I'm doing artwork. It's like, am I being a responsible enough artist to where people are going to like not lash out at me for doing something dumb?
Yeah. And I mean, you seem like a good dude. I don't know, but I don't think anyone.
Ask my wife that. She's gonna say the opposite.
No, but like no one wants like their product or their art or whatever they're making to be at the hands of someone that's uncomfortable doing it. Like you don't want to take advantage of people. You don't even want to like price things to take advantage of people. Like, you know what I mean? We're sensitive guys. We're artists, right? So it's like we have that emotion, and you never really know. Like you said, it's like you get the picture from what they say, and you hope that that's true. And but you could get a U.S. company to do it, and they would just ship it to China to the cheapest place to do it at, and you would just pay them money for nothing, and it's getting done at a less humane place or you know, whatever way. You never really know. It's crazy. It's always like, I don't know. I try not to think about it. I've made some enamel pins and stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, should I even be making these?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But see, that's the whole thing. It's like as creatives, it's like you want to make things at the time, because even like a day or two late, you're still behind in the game.
That's right.
Because everything's evolving so quickly. It's like the instant gratification that we want in life, like the latest phone or the latest shoes, the latest clothes. And with the art world, it's like you want to be as relevant as you possibly can, but you also want to stay as true to yourself as possible. Because I mean, you don't want to be producing work just to like fit in with a certain, you know,
Right.
a certain group, but yet you also want to be as organic as you want to be to yourself or true to yourself. Because it's like a very fine line we walk on, because it's like we want to be individuals, but then we want to be recognized in order to get paid. And it's like, okay, man, I got to eat. So I got to make work that's going to sell. So what's going to sell, or what's popular, and then it gets to that point where you're like, okay, I got a little bit of freedom now that I'm recognized, so I can kind of venture out and branch out and do the things I want to do and still be respected in the sense where it's like, I'm being true to myself.
Oh yeah. That's it. That's just being true to yourself and like how sincere you are about what you're doing, not taking advantage of people or like a scene or like just doing something for like a seemingly like a cash grab or anything. And like, I don't know, it's rough. Not to say that I'm even on the level where I could try to attempt that stuff. You know what I mean? Like my work's not theirs, where I'm like, oh, I should just do this and I'll make money. But it's like the idea of someone told me like making hotel art. And it's like you could just throw paint and like make abstract canvases and sell them by the dozens to boutique hotels and like you could try to do that. But like, is that where you want to be? Is that what you're into? Is it true to like what you want to do or say? So, you know, and not to say that, not to shit on anyone that's what they love doing. If you're into that and that's your thing, then it's going to show. It's just being sincere about it and having that.
And you know what, the other thing that really was like hard for me to do at times was like the group theme shows, because if my artwork didn't sell at that show, it would be hard for me to resell it, because I have to find that certain audience that clicks with it. But, you know, it's like the Star Wars themes or like Day of the Dead or all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's awesome stuff, but sometimes you just kind of like locking yourself in there. And now I've made a piece, and if it doesn't sell, it's like, dude, now I got to find somebody that actually likes this in order to sell it, or I'm just going to have it in my basement collecting like dust. And it sucks because you put so much time and effort into that, and you want to be part of these shows so that way you get your name out there. But yet sometimes you're like, oh, well, it's just another like one of these, and now I got to crank this out, and it doesn't really feel genuine to the process, because it's like, okay, I'm just going to draw another lightsaber, or I'm just going to draw another skull, and it's kind of like monotonous. Like, oh, there's no thought process into it in my eyes, you know. It's like, I'm just making this to try to get a quick buck, and then that's it.
When you sit down to paint something, how does it kind of pop into your head? Is it like maybe like a saying or something you heard that gives you an idea of what you want Happy to be doing, or like the character? Like, how does that start?
How much of Happy is you, bro?
All of it.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends on how I'm feeling. It's like sometimes, like, to be honest, I'll just paint it just to paint it. But as I'm getting, you know, the process going, I get into it. Like sometimes I'll be like, okay, I just want to get this done. I want to paint something, and it's like, oh, I don't know if it's gonna turn out great. But then midway through the painting, it's like, oh dang, it's actually turning out a lot better than I expected. And then other times, yeah, it's like I'll think of something, and it's like I write it down, and it's just like a saying, like it's just a saying. And then as I'm trying to sketch it out on the canvas, it takes like a whole different form. Like it could be like, oh, I'm feeling sad. And then I'm painting it. And it's like, you know what? Instead of let's doing it sad, let's doing it like crying, or he's happy about something, or he's going to get into trouble about something. So it starts evolving into something else from that initial idea. So yeah, it'll be a saying, but then it'll transform into something totally different than the end product.
That's cool. That's a very natural process, and I think that's probably what allows a lot of that emotion to show through in those drawings.
Yeah, like even when I'm doing a mural, like sometimes I'll have a sketch and I'll go to the wall and I'm ready to, you know, do the sketch, and it's like I have a different feel about the environment, and it's like, okay, let's scratch that and we're gonna go with this whole new concept. And it's just like, I never want to lock myself into like an idea and that's why, like I'm saying, those group shows where it's themed, it's like, man, now there's no real creativity because I'm stuck in this zone, and now I can't venture out where I want to go. As suppose it's like I'm doing my own thing. I had this initial concept, and now it's expanded and it's grown into its own little entity. So now I can take it there.
Yeah, heck yeah. And you're able to just see that path, and you just run down that path and let it be what it is. That's rad.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually tough to do as an artist, especially if you have an idea in your mind of what you want it to be able to have the flexibility with yourself to say, you know what, let it be this rather than no, it has to be what I want it to be. It has to be sad, or you know what I mean? You let it go to happy, or let it go to, you know, whatever. And that's tough to do as an artist for sure.
Yeah, and that's why, like, working with companies, like as far as design work and stuff like that, they're really focused on their idea.
Mhm.
So it doesn't really give you too much wiggle room because they're set on, like, okay, it has to be this. You could give them like a million sketches of like, oh, I got this great idea, we could add this, and they're like, nope, I want it this. And you're like, man, but it would look, nope, I want it like this. And it's like, okay, it's like, all right, I'm just kind of handcuffed to that, so now I'm gonna just draw it out.
Yeah, here's what you get. Yeah, it's not gonna be as good as if you let me do it.
Yeah, but I mean, in that odd sense, it all goes back to like, okay, I'm making a living from this, so it's like I kind of go with the flow with what they want, even though like us as creatives, we have a broader perspective of what it could look like and how it can go. But sometimes corporations are so stuck on like they have their blinders on, and it's like, we want it to look like this, and it's like, okay, I mean, you got the check, so I'm gonna do what you want.
There is a place for that. Yeah, there's a place for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, dude, this has been an awesome interview. I appreciate it. We're just coming up on time. But before we go, I wanted to just give you an opportunity to let the people know what shows you've got going on. If you want to shout out your Instagram and let them know where they can see your stuff, just give them a breakdown really quick of what you got going on.
Well, I have the show coming up on Saturday, October 2nd at the House of Boxing on Rio Drive. And then, October 7th, I'll be in New York at the New York Comic Con doing a signing with Invasion Toys. I hope I'm saying that right. Then on the 23rd of October, I'll be at the House of Boxing for their, 1940s event. And then the 12th of November through the 14th, I'll be in Anaheim at the Anaheim Convention Center for Designer Con.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we went through all of those while we were talking, but just wanted to give the people just a straight list so they could see, dude, you're being active. You got something going on every week. I love it, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let you get back to your vacation, brother, but we really appreciate you like talking to us and hanging out. I don't think this episode will be out before this weekend because we have one done for tomorrow, but I'll put out a little clip just on Instagram of like,
it's all right. I know you guys don't like me that much, so you guys are holding it back.
Yeah, I trust it ain't that.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate, Memo connecting me with you guys, because it's, awesome to just talk to people and let them know what's going on, and especially you guys being creatives yourselves and kind of, interacting with one another and getting to meet, the bigger world of art that's out there. So it's cool to make connections, and I'm excited that I met you guys.
Heck yeah, dude. It's like being at a bar with a friend or like a show that you get introduced to someone and you sit there and you talk and you learn stuff from each other and figure out like each other's like points of view and you take away something from each conversation. And we need more of that when this last year has been so tough without having it. So
right.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's been hard, but I'm just glad that things are getting somewhat back to normal and we can actually, get out and do things again and just be ourselves. Because, man, it was tough being locked away for a while. I mean, even though I'm an introvert and I didn't really mind it that much because I was painting at home and I was used to it, but it kind of gets to you a while because it's like, man, I just, even though I don't want to see a lot of people, I kind of want to see people,
Yeah, there needs to be a balance.
When you do want to go out and be social, you really want to. It's like, damn it. right, dude. Well, we'll let
It's
you
like
go.
all those things it's all those things we took for granted. Now we're just like, damn, I really want.
Totally.
Heck yeah, dude.
Exactly.
That's absolutely one thing COVID pushed in our faces is check out all the stuff you've been taking for granted.
Yeah, be thankful.
Yes, be thankful, be humble.
No, hell yeah. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Well,
Well,
thank
thanks
you so
again,
much.
Ezra. I
appreciate
appreciate you being on with us, man. And get back to your vacation. Enjoy Hawaii. Thanks for making time with
Hey,
us.
We dropped it.
Thanks.
All right.
I'll bring you guys a pineapple.
Hell
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thank you.
All right, bro. Take care.
Later. Bye.
Yes, that
Great.
ruled.
That was a great interview, man.
This has been another episode of the Ratnest Podcast. You can catch us every week on YouTube for video and any major streaming platform for the audio. Jim?
I'm Jim. Bye.
RatnestStickerCo.com. Go grab one.
Yeah.